Well, Doom Eternal is on the horizon, although I have covered a Doom Hell invasion before. I wanted to take a look at another franchise Bethesda/id/ZeniMax have worked on before, and while the notion of demons, zombies, and spacefaring infections are frightful enough, alternate timelines dominated by power-hungry race elitists can be equally as terrifying for an everyday gamer or historian like you, the viewer. And as to avoid demonetization, since YouTube prefers algorithms and certain words from being monetizable, certain words may or may not be transcribed as "did not see" and "hit her" throughout the video. I'm not going to complain about it, as it's very sketchy territory, but it's the subject matter of today's video that I was going to eventually release anyways. So with that being said, this week we discuss the head-spinning, day-tripping, my strawberry milkshakes bring all the Uber commanders to the yard, looking for love in Aryan places, Robo Doggy Style, I grew up in the main character's hometown of Mesquite, Texas, the equivalent of how the internet responds to actors in movies. Your choice of who dies makes a lot more difference than anything Telltale has ever made. Getting ahead in life, keep your chin up, or at least attached. Let's have a blast together. Hot dog!
Das war ein komischer Kauz. Die Spinnen, die Amis. Hot dog.
The physical embodiment of plot armor keeping you alive after decapitation. If Beavis and Butthead were murderous females, the main requirement for trying to survive this is by not being from Arizona.
I'm from Arizona.
A shocking experience, friends are delirious, sequels less serious than get more hideous, wheelchair bound but still insidious, alternative timelines where English bad, German good. Please don't demonetize me, YouTube, I'll remove his stash. Let's get this video porkin' started already, game itself. This week we are telling you why you wouldn't survive Wolfenstein's Did Not See Army. Delving into the alternate timelines, what if the Third Reich rise of World War II had been completely different? What if the dominating regime of Germany had discovered the power of the atomic bomb and developed superior technology due to ancient artifacts and tactics that would make Hitler reign supreme? In the timeline of the vast Wolfenstein franchise, there are many branching paths dependent on the developer. For this instance, we will be going over Machine Games' story that stemmed from The New Order, Old Blood, and Wolfenstein 2, The Colossus. But in the fashion of the Why You Wouldn't Survive series, we will not be including the battle-hardened B.J. Blazkowicz or any of his cohorts and offspring, but putting our reality into theirs without any super-powered and plot-armored heroes. The trigger of the Second World War being Germany's invasion of Poland on September 1st of 1939, the subsequent invasion of the USSR known as Operation Barbarossa in June of 1941, and the attack on Pearl Harbor of December of 1941, they all played out as they did in actual world history. However, certain events played out differently as time went on, most critically being the D-Day invasion of Normandy, one that would hope to establish a strong foothold against German forces. In actual history against the Axis powers. In actual history, the Allied powers had successfully stormed and taken the beaches of Normandy in one of history's largest amphibious battles, at the cost of 5,000 to 12,000 Allied lives and 4,000 to 9,000 German lives, with 200,000 German POWs. However, in the realm of Wolfenstein, the D-Day attacks were a total failure by the Allies, with the difference in casualties being 156,000 dead Allied infantry and only 89 German troops, leading to distrust between the US and UK governments and total German control of France. It was merely less than 2 years later, on January 6th of 1946, that German troops stumbled upon humanity's first look at ancient Jewish repositories known as the Da'at Yaqud. Sorry if I mispronounced that wrong, with hundreds of vaults scattered across the globe, containing a plethora of centuries-old artifacts and inventions made to be millennia ahead of their time and even ours. Crafted by those of the Jewish faith long ago, these inventions were solely created for the purpose of creation and connecting with God, being protected by ancient gatekeepers until the fateful day where German forces killed the first vault's protector and harvested everything the WYWS had to offer. German scientists were awestruck as what seemed like machinations constructed by magic were actually perfectly explained through scientific means thanks to the blueprints left behind. It was this discovery that allowed the dead Nazis to advance their technology, capabilities, and arsenal drastically in a short period of time, leading to the creation of artificial AI, laser weaponry, and even mind control devices. By 1948, rumors of a German superweapon start to crop up, although the United States and Russia stick to their guns to win the war. As fate would have it, however, the US would lose half of their naval forces in one battle against German-Japanese forces, and Russia would be completely decimated in Moscow, leading to total surrender to the Axis powers. The dominoes would continue to fall. The United Kingdom, the Republic of China, and Eurasia as a whole fell under the crushing strength of the Axis. The USA would still hold out until December 21st of 1948, when an atomic bomb was dropped on New York City, killing millions.
Hit her!
And his army stormed Washington, D.C., forcing U.S. President Franklin D. Roosevelt to order the U.S. military to stand down and ensure the transition did not see rule. No governments or powers could stand up to the vast strength and technology that they possessed. Over the next few decades, Germany would see to expand their knowledge and technological advancement by discovering more of the WYWS vaults, developing anti-gravity tech, spacefaring vehicles and lunar colonization, further nuclear power, overtly powerful attack helicopters, further advanced artificial intelligence, gigantic flying and underwater fortresses, and even weather-altering technology. And this is where we will be putting our realm of existence into the fold, as any events that led to the American resistance we see in Wolfenstein were either spurred, inspired, or enacted by the actions of B.J. Blazkowicz. So as standard civilians, how would we fare against the souped-up Axis powers army as it set up shop where we lived, or if they decided to hunt us down for differing ideals, conflicting language barriers, or just feeling like shooting a man or two because they're just slightly annoyed? Considering this is the Fourth Reich we are talking about, we have to bring up the fact that they live with the ideology that their Aryan race, described by the regime as a pale-skinned person with blonde hair and blue eyes in perfect fitness with no mental or physical deformities, is superior, and anything or anyone else is subhuman. Not adhering to their beliefs would result in either public execution.
The child was born with a club foot. Klaus knew, of course, what that meant. He begged the doctors not to report it to the authorities. When secret police showed up to take the boy away, Klaus and his wife tried to stop them. The wife died from a bullet to the head. The child, too.
Or forceful submission to, well, let's call it intensive thinking retreats to avoid demonetization. For anyone that is not physically fit enough to meet their standards, unless you are the offspring of a high-ranking individual, unless you start dieting, you'll be eating a bullet instead of another slice of cake. The Reich will also construct euthanasia centers for children that do not meet these physical fitness standards.
Ronnie, are you home?
Ronnie, that's your second hunk of candy bar this week. You know, good nutrition is a matter of state security. If Father found out, it would be straight to the Youth Health Ministry for you.
But it's just a little chocolate.
It's disgusting and it's dishonorable. But I'm still gonna have to inform on you.
Now, sadly, mental illness and birth defects are seen as dirtying humanity's gene pool. And if a person, or even a baby, were to show signs of something like dementia, schizophrenia, or have physical attributes like dwarfism, skin discoloration, or even clubfoot, well, this would be grounds for extermination. The Reich even resorted to cleansing an insane asylum in Poland after seizing control. Homosexuals and those outside of their specific Christian faith are also grounds for extreme scrutiny or execution as well. So being born into this regime will be a veritable genetic lottery under a dangerously watchful eye. Other races, creeds, and people of differing sexuality are allowed to survive and live under their rule to a very certain and particular degree, as very strict guidelines are in effect 24/7. They will constantly patrol areas and have routine house checks to make sure everyone is acting accordingly. family and respecting their German overlords. And like I said, if you are not of the Aryan description, which ironically the real Aryans were of Indo-European descent, where they mostly hailed from countries like India, so the whole white skin thing doesn't really make a lot of sense, or that you are a devoted ally such as the sovereign nation of Japan, your life could be ended for any number of reasons, as the judgment of commandants and Oberkommanders are absolute. Their ranks are riddled with many armed, terrifying, and technologically advanced individuals. Now, of course, there are the standard German troops armed with a plethora of weaponry, including firearms, laser technology, flamethrowers, explosive, you name it. And among these troopers, we have paratrooping blackguards, flame-spewing drac troopers, heavy soldiers proficient in close quarters armed with combat shotguns, faraway deadeyes of the marksmen, who ironically aren't the best shots most of the time, but you know, any kind of round from a high-power sniper rifle is enough to have you on the floor in seconds. Rocket troopers firing RPGs at you to blow you to pieces, and basically anything you would see within militarized forces, but with a bit more ancient technology boosts in their deadliness. Atom elites can be deployed to scout areas devastated by nuclear attacks, to wipe out anyone that may have survived wearing biohazard apparel. Although shooting their masks doesn't seem to cause any adverse effects to them, they have the same capabilities as any other soldier, except they may have a resistance or even immunity to radiation. Some commanders and elites, if a mission or battle has become critical enough, will occupy the mechanical powered armor, as seen with Deathsheed in his final battle, that will use the energy of electricity garnered by 2 Zeppelins to make an impenetrable bubble shield. While impervious to all sorts of damage until the Zeppelins are destroyed, the mech will use one or all of its 4 mounted turrets to liquefy all opposers. Using the brains of the recently deceased or beheaded, prototype robots can be powered by these brains to fight even further after death for their cause, and will not only attack you, but rip the weapon from your hands and use it against you while you are defenseless and pummel you to death. Of course, regular German Shepherds and Dobermans are utilized by the Germans as Kampfhunds, becoming more and more genetically and mechanically modified as years pass on, increasing their range of eyesight and smell, being immune to radioactivity, and basically having everything but their brain altered to resist more damage and tear through enemies, mostly by biting out their jugular. Some have even been modified into Laserhunds, being fully armored from head to toe dogs that can fire
frickin' laser beams attached to their heads.
Due to their armored physique, they will tend to ram into people to swiftly knock them down and eviscerate them with their death beams and teeth. Beyond human and animal interference, they will also employ robotic assistants to hunt down civilians and rebels. Drones can be seen flying overhead in any German-controlled territories of invaded cities, monitoring the populace for any signs of insurrection, resistance, or anything outside their rule of law. They will alert any nearby troops, and there will be nearby troops as they have tons stationed in just about every corner you can think of in your town, and once they have detected you, will send those troops after you, but they can also attack because they are armed with laser cannons and ramjet engines to kamikaze people and shoot them down as well. Now, most infamously of their AI are their Panzerhunds. Canine-like giant mechanical beasts, equipped with plate armor, razor-sharp teeth, heightened speed, jaws strong enough to rip you in half, and even a flamethrower adorned in its mouth. It will be able to take a lot of damage, and you will probably be demolished before you can even retaliate against this hulking beast. Heavy robots will be deployed after war efforts to ensure suppression of countries and their population due to their sheer killing power through extra thick steel armor and robust super laser cannons able to destroy vehicles and defenses without breaking an oily sweat. Guard robots are built to mimic human proportions, but stand guard in numerous strongholds, and despite not being very armored, they make up for that in insane speed and agility. It will pursue a target by even sticking to walls and ceilings, and rapid-fire energy blasts at intruders, and are even able to avoid gunfire all at the same time. Super soldiers, or Übersoldatens, I never took German, so please forgive me, are abominations and the closest thing I will get to discussing a type of zombie in this scenario, since I won't be bringing up the spoiled or anything of that sort. By manipulating the genetics of willing or unwilling people, German scientific teams sought to degrading the brain enough to where it would remain alive, but in a very primitive state, being violent in nature and unpredictable, although they will obey the commands hands of any high-ranking Reich officials. By combining these mindless servants with chemical therapy and cybernetics, these super soldiers would be adorned down to their flesh with defensive armor and, as time goes on, rocket engines to pursue victims faster, crush them under their superior strength, or tenderize them with a vast arsenal of fire weapons. At the cream of the crop of these overpowered tin cans is the Zerstorer, the bratwurst, the ultimate version of the super soldiers. Having nearly impenetrable armor and most of the time carrying Ubergoobers, deadly charged weapons that will produce diesel-fueled energy spheres at high velocity that will instantly vaporize any matter it comes into contact with. And patrolling over the city of London, the massive London Monitor is used to quash any resistance by wiping out foot infantry quickly. This colossal robot could easily crush anything or anyone that lies before it, but it will also use high-power machine guns and flamethrowers to protect itself from any invasive attacks on its core engine, and it will primarily shoot energy beams from its red Cyclonian eye, and be able to lob a flurry of missiles at ground and air forces to destroy them with relative ease. Now, let's go ahead and say you somehow staged a strong enough resistance or infiltrated the home or compound occupied by the leader of the Reich. Surely, killing him off would cause some disarray and or dysfunction of these armies. Well, that's when it truly becomes a case of why you wouldn't survive for everyone on Earth.
Hitler
would be a man of insane resolve and ordered the construction of a doomsday device, not wanting his or Aryan rule over basically a majority of the world to be loosened after his death. He had set a fail-safe protocol in this apocalyptic device. If he were to be murdered suddenly due to insurrection or resistance movements, the protocol would trigger firing up this device. This isn't what you're probably thinking. No, this is not nuclear annihilation. Bombs aren't going to go off left and right. No, it's a slow, global environmental destruction, causing the Earth's weather patterns to become so erratic and severe that destructive thunderstorms, massive tsunamis, devastating earthquakes, and overall cause the world's environment to become more and more uninhabitable over the years. So even if you take out their leader and the source of all this conflict, and even take out a majority of their army, and maybe even fight back, the world itself will start to progressively reject humanity, and no amount of firepower and military strength can stand up to a menopausing Mother Nature. Although utilizing the spacefaring vehicles created by the Germans would have to be utilized, and somehow move a majority of the human race off-world to either colonize the moon or Mars, you would have to transport billions. And even when we get to the moon or Mars, well, that's probably when the Doom Hell invasion probably happens, because we did find portals to hell on the moon and Mars. So, between a devastating loss of lives during World War II, the occupying and domination of all associated countries post-war, the extreme measures taken by the Reich in terms of keeping humanity pure by wiping out anyone with mental or physical defects at an early age, or when they find you, the constant surveillance of territories, the unpredictable and overpowered nature of the Reich's enforcers, and if Hitler himself dies, putting the whole world into a rushed global warming endgame, it's safe to say how impossible it would be to survive at all, unless you completely submitted to their orders and rule. But even then, that is not guaranteed. It's a grim look at a world that may have happened if ancient technology were also to somehow be uncovered by the wrong hands. But you do have to see the irony that Germany in this universe rose to power because of ancient Jewish technology. Did you enjoy today's look at the Wolfenstein universe? Were you disappointed I didn't cover much or anything involved with the zombies or the newest edition called Young Blood? What should I cover next on the Why You Wouldn't Survive series? Let me know in the comments, and as I said, it was a very touchy subject matter today, so apologies if anything was a bit too much to listen to or go over. That's just a part of history and what the Wolfenstein franchise had to offer. The SCP video is coming, don't worry, it's coming out next month, but will just be part 1 of a 3 to 4 part miniseries. If you want to support the channel further, watch some of my other Why You Wouldn't Survive scenarios or my Zombie Sin series if you really want to scratch that zombie itch that was devoid from this video. You could also donate in a number of ways to be featured here by either being a longtime supporter, a Patreon patron where you can see videos a few days before they release for only $1, becoming a member of the channel and getting exclusive emotes for my live streams, or donating during my live streams themselves. Next up on the Why You Wouldn't Survive series is up to you. Comment below what you want to see next, and the most liked comment will most likely be covered. Just please don't comment the real world disease that's all around the world right now. I'm not gonna do it. Anyways, until next time, I'm Zach Ass, aka WowSuch Gaming. Never forget to stay well, my friends.